Hello and welcome to our latest and greatest edition of Better Together Arizona. I'm your host, Angela Hughey. I am super excited about today's conversation with the Valle del Sol CEO, Mike Renaud, who has become a dear friend in the relatively small amount of time that you've been here in Arizona and as the CEO of Valle. You have a wealth of healthcare knowledge. Really enjoying being on the journey with you and finding ways to work with you. So, and what you told me right before we started taping is this is your first podcast.
Yeah, you are my first podcast ever. Back in the day, this is aging me, but I was on some radio shows back in the day, but then my first ever time in a podcast situation. So thanks for being my first podcast.
Yeah, and you don't need dials to listen to this.
Exactly.
You can watch it if you want. But anyway, welcome to the 21st century.
Thank you so much. Yeah.
So I know that not enough people know about how awesome you are and your background. So let people know who you are and about your background in the healthcare space.
Yeah. I consider myself to be the least interesting person. So we'll try to make it kind of interesting.
Okay.
But, yeah, I'm just a normal average guy. I was born in Boston, Massachusetts, grew up there. So I'm a lifelong Boston guy, but I left when I was in my early 20s. I decided to travel across the country to try to get to California. Did a little bit of a zigzag across the nation for a little bit in a car, and then landed in New Mexico. I met my wife there, and then she, like any good southwestern wife, said, "We're never leaving." So spent about 20 years in New Mexico, finished my undergrad there, got my master's in public health there, and then in about 2001 started in the healthcare field, and have been in ever since. So I think this is 25 years now. Almost all of that time in community health settings, a little bit of time in hospitals, but most of it in community health and delivering systems of care across most of the state of New Mexico at the time. At the early part of 2021, we decided to move to Maui after visiting there many times. Aloha. So we moved to Maui. I ran a small little community health center in a really rural part of the state of Maui, 2 hours away from any civic life. You're talking about a village of 800 people, no grocery stores, no stop signs, one street. I walked almost everywhere. It was incredible. But when we moved out there, our daughter was 9. And then she turned 12 and realized that she hated surfing, she hated hiking, she hated sand on the beach. She wanted to have more than 12 classmates. That was her K through 12 school only had 200 kids in it. So she said, "You guys got to get me out of here." So we started looking. My wife wanted to come back to the Southwest. I have been in healthcare for a long time, so I was really looking for an organization that did two things: address all of the downstream problems that we see in society when it comes to social determinants of health and healthcare, but at the same time, actually work on the upstream causes. Why do these things happen?
Okay.
And Valle del Sol is a place that does that. There's a very, very few, less than a handful that I'm aware of across the nation that do both things at the same time. So I jumped at the chance of coming to Valle. It's a storied organization with over 50 years of deep roots in the Hispanic and Latino community here in Phoenix. And it was my pleasure to come here. So it's been
tell people that don't know, I've known about Valle for 25 years, but I realize that not everybody actually knows about the great work that Valle del Sol does. So tell folks what Valle is all about.
Yeah, it was started in the late 60s, early 70s out of the farm workers movement, right? The Chicano rights movement in the 60s and 70s. And it was founded as a social justice organization that was to be working on policy change, influencing policy, influencing equity. And then quickly, the founders back then was all grassroots community advocates like yourself. And they quickly realized, a lot of these people that we're working to change policy for are struggling with addiction and mental health issues. So maybe we should also think about providing services. And that's what they did. So they morphed into really more of a service organization where they're providing mental health services, addiction services. You're talking about the 80s, 90s now, early 2000s. And then in the 2000s to 2020s, it really started to embrace the full person care. So it turned into an organization that was doing mental health, physical health, still the advocacy work, leadership programs, to today where we're providing an entire spectrum of community health, primary care, psychiatric care, mental health services, addiction services, children's services. We're in 66 different schools in Arizona providing mental health therapy for kids in needs in schools. We're doing birth to 5 programs for new families. All of those things with the community at our heart, with equity and inclusion at the center of everything we do. And we've sort of opened a bigger umbrella that wasn't just for the Latino community. It's for all people who are in need of every walk of life. And I jumped at the chance to come work at a place like that.
Amazing. Like that. It's such a remarkable story. And I think the story of Valle, as I'm listening to you talk about how this was, I mean, it was really needs-based, right? A community needed Valle, and then Valle has continued to evolve based on the needs of not just our Hispanic and Latino community, but based on the broader community, right? And I think that part of traversing these interesting waters that we're in right now in this political climate is the importance of organizations continuing to evolve to meet the needs that are in front of us now, right? Because this is a different state and a different nation, and the concerns that all of our constituents have has evolved quite a lot, in particularly in the last few weeks.
Yeah,
so we're going to keep evolving.
There, right?
There's a ton. But you're collaborators too, right? Which I mean, I think that's a really important part of your leadership style. And you have a leadership institute. I don't know how many people actually know that Valle is home to the Hispanic Leadership Institute, which is like in several different regions throughout the state, right?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that's one of the beautiful parts of why I thought Valle was so interesting. Besides its long-standing history of advocacy and equality, it's looking at the problems that are facing Arizona, not just in the downstream, where so many social services
the upstream.
do, right? It's how do we always are spending all these resources trying to pull people out of the river, right? We're over and over again pulling them out of the river, and we're saying, why are the people falling in the river upstream to begin with? Why is there pollution in the river upstream to begin with? And whoever in Valle in the 1980s decided to create this program called Hispanic Leadership Institute was a genius. Well before my time, I can't take any credit for it. So we are delivering all of these incredible services, but we are also providing 5 different cohorts of leadership. Hispanic Leadership Institute. You don't have to be a Hispanic to be in it. I'm actually in it this year.
I saw that you're part of the 2025 cohort.
They accepted me. I applied, went through the whole process, and they accepted me. And it really is taking people from all walks of life. So it's
merit-based is what you're telling
100%. I went through a grueling interview, but I told them I don't want any special treatment. I want to be treated like any other candidate. So it was like a 3-page application. I had to write a statement. I had to go through a panel interview. It was
and you were accepted based on merit,
yeah.
Even though you're not Hispanic.
Exactly. Can you imagine that?
Yeah.
So it's an incredible opportunity. It's 16 weeks every Tuesday night from 6 to 9 p.m. And the cohort of classmates meet at different locations throughout the valley, and different experts come to talk to us, and they really give us a broader picture of civic life. So, for example, a superintendent from schools might come talk to us about the education issues in their district. And it's really trying to give a broader lens of information to people in the class that hopefully then go and become civic leaders. Leaders of not-for-profits, board members, run for office. We've got some pretty incredible alumni from that program. State legislative members. We have a United States senator that's a graduate of it. So it's really important to look at these upstream issues to figure out how we have better social policy.
And equality is important to you, right? So I've heard you just say that really that you have become, this is community-based care for everyone, right? Yep. And that the Hispanic Leadership Institute is for everyone, right? You don't have to be a member of the Hispanic community. And one of the things that Valle recently did under your leadership was you joined the Unity Pledge family, right?
Absolutely.
So talk about why it's important for Valle as an organization to align with, the Unity Pledge.
Yeah, I mean, I think for me, I struggle with the articulating why did that even need to exist?
The pledge,
right?
Yeah.
What are the societal conditions? Like, wouldn't it be better for us all if we didn't even need to have to do that?
Well, it would be better if we had equal protections under law for everyone, including LGBTQ people. Absolutely.
Amen, right?
Yes.
So to me, I'm all in on those kinds of things. It's a no-brainer to sign the pledge, right? It's a no-brainer. I wear this pin every single day.
I know you do.
I didn't know anything about one community. I was living in Maui, making the decision to come here, and I thought, well, I should try to. A lot of people, when they're moving, they Google housing or restaurants or things like that, things to do. I Googled what are the greatest social services organizations in Phoenix, and it was one community that came up on Google. This is a true story. And I read everything about you and the webpage, and I was like, this is a place I have to get to know because it stands for the things that we shouldn't have to stand for.
Right.
We shouldn't have to judge people by who they love, who they believe in, what color of their skin. But unfortunately, we live in a world that has so much misinformation and hate. And to me, to be able to stand up against those things with allies like yourself in this organization and so many other people, to me is a no-brainer. I wish we didn't have to do it.
I'm with you. I have been
if we're going to do it, let's do it.
We got to do it together. And I want to just, for the record, tell everyone I have been diligently trying to work myself out of a job since we launched One Community, right? And so, and we've made really good progress.
Yeah, it's incredible.
And sometimes we find ourselves in situations where it's 2 steps forward and 1 step back. And I think right now it's about really locking arms and working together and being actionable allies for all of our diverse communities so that we can continue to work towards a state that celebrates, respects, and protects us all equally.
Yeah, I mean, you know,
because I want to go visit your house in Maui is what I want to do.
Yeah,
I want to.
anytime.
I'm all about
for sure
getting this good work done.
Yeah.
Okay.
We talk about this a lot. It's easy to have someone's back when things are going really well.
Yeah,
right?
you find out who your friends are when things are going so well. You find out when your friends are,
and that's to kind of finish put the bow on that. I try to be apolitical when it comes to being a CEO, when it comes to delivering healthcare. But really, there's a time in life where you really have to stand up for what you believe in my humble opinion. And so it's easy for me to stand up front with you when things are going well and there's no one trying to attack the community. But if you're not going to stand up with one community and other types of organizations now, when are you going to do it?
Well, to your point, inaction is indeed action, isn't it? Well, thank you. You've been unwavering in standing with One Community, and I'm happy to be standing alongside of you and that you're alongside of us as we all work through these more difficult challenges ahead. So talk about your connection with the LGBTQ plus community, right? Do you have a personal story about someone that you know that's LGBTQ? What makes you the actionable ally that you are, Mike?
Yeah, I mean, I have no business. I was a kid that grew up in the city of Boston. I played sports, all the quintessential 70s and 80s things, aging myself again, that you think, right? And so I really have no business having a broad range of life beliefs. I should really be pigeonholed as this kid that grew up in a Roman Catholic Boston Irish neighborhood. But I was lucky enough to take that adventure, a couple of years of driving across country. I was lucky enough to meet my wife in New Mexico, who's this incredible clinical social worker who understands all kinds of things about trauma and what that does to people, and have all these incredible life experiences. And I'm not a religious person per se. I'm a recovering Catholic. But one of the things that I think in my early teens and later teens was I think if you want to believe in any of that stuff, the commandment we got was to love everybody.
Everyone.
So I wish I had this incredible personal story about I know this LGBTQ person that went through this strife or all these things. I mean, my circle is filled with all kinds of people all different walks of life. So as cheesy as this sounds, I believe it in every fiber of my being. I think our highest duty in life is to love everybody. And so I love everybody no matter what. it doesn't have to go with this, but my wife and I got married in the early 2000s. She's gonna kill me.
You're in so much trouble.
I know. My best man,
Michael John.
I know exactly. My best man in the wedding was a female named Ann, and I met Ann and her partner Trish when I had first got to New Mexico, and they're just incredible people, and it didn't matter to me that they were together and they had kids and they went through that whole process. And
you loved them because
I loved them because
awesome.
I loved them because they were awesome. And our wedding photos are me standing next to Ann, and she had a brand new perm for the wedding and everything. And so, it's just something that we've weaved into our lives, and a lot of that credit goes to my wife, right? Because she's just such an incredible person that helped me really understand oppression, what it's like to be brown, right? What it's like to be a woman, what it's like to not live in a privileged white guy's shoes. And so
she's done good work.
She's done really good work.
So one of the joys of our relationship, I think, is like we're just really, I feel like we're there for one another, right? I think we're there for one another as peers, and also that our organizations are there for one another. And you really just touched on this in telling your wedding story, but like talk about why inclusion is so important to Valle, right? Because Valle's journey really started as an organization that was specifically there for members of our Hispanic community, and you have really broadened this out and said, come whoever you are, right?
Yeah.
Talk about that. Why is inclusion so important?
Yeah, I think for a couple of different reasons for me. One, because we're stronger all together. That is indisputable.
Yep.
Difference is what makes us beautiful. Difference is what gives us strength to have the ability to learn and share with each other and problem solve from different viewpoints. Life is so boring if it's just vanilla all the time. And there are some people who love vanilla all the time. So I don't want to offend anybody who loves vanilla ice cream.
No, but I mean, like there's studies out there that really just say like
absolutely.
Diverse viewpoints really create better outcomes, right? And so if you have diverse people with diverse experiences around the table, you're creating a more sustainable model.
100%, right? It makes us a stronger organization. It makes us an organization that is also tied with the people that we serve, right? And so when you're authentic like that, when you're connected, again, that's another reason why I chose Valle, because it has that deep authenticity that not a lot of healthcare places have, to be honest, where we really care about the people we serve. It's not a business to us. It's not a revenue generator. You're not a number. You're not a person that get in line that we can shovel through and see as many people a day as we can to make money. We really care. And that diversity helps us really have a better understanding in a broader and in a way tighter workforce that can really bring those things. The second part of it is, and this is going to sound a little cheesy earlier, I know I said love, but I can't think of many things worse than being afraid and being alone. And that breaks my heart to know that there are people, for whatever reason, physical disability, gender, sexual orientation, race, that are afraid, that are scared, and they're alone. It's heartbreaking. We see so many kids. Our company is in 60 different schools providing mental health therapy to kids. We see so many kids, especially now, bullied, beaten, scared of their parents, scared to come home, tell them that they might be different. These are stories that generations of people have lived with. Don't get me wrong. We're not the first people to say, oh my gosh, did you know this was happening? But it's heartbreaking. It just crushes my soul. So if we're a place for all people who need any kind of help, to not be alone, to not be afraid, our doors are open to everybody, to be safe. Yeah.
I think the unfortunate part about where we're at as a state and a nation right now is so many people do unfortunately think that they're alone.
Yeah.
And as I'm listening to you and just what drives you, it's your heart.
Yeah.
And we have so many like shared viewpoints. I've always said from a one community standpoint, we have to lead by doing what's right. And if we lead by doing what's right, like the bottom line will somehow always kind of work itself out. And what you have done is continue to evolve Valle in a way to ensure that you're not only doing what's right, you're doing what's right for more people. You're serving more people. And I think that you're deeply embedding Valle's roots, not just in our remarkable Hispanic community, but as just a community steward for all of Arizona. And I'm deeply grateful for that. And I think that what we need to hear from leaders in our state and in our nation right now is that we care about more than just what is right for us, that we care about our neighbors and our friends, and how we're all impacted by decisions that are being made that we have no control over, right? And so it's interesting to me that while I think that these are adverse times that we're facing for so many reasons, I do believe that there is so much common good that can come out of this, and the opportunity for us to work together and to get back down to the basics of just treating people the way that you wish to be treated, and being kind to one another. And like you said, you didn't have some remarkable aha moment, although Anne, who stood up for you at your wedding, and her partner sound like they were pretty cool.
Yeah, lifelong friends.
Lifelong friends. And she had an awesome perm, which is definitely dating you without a doubt. But I think it's just to get back to that place of like, we're just friends and we love one another, not in spite of our differences, but with our differences. Our differences are like what bring that dimensionality to our lives. And, you know, I think we talk about equity and equality a lot, and people think that if diverse folks are having more seats at the table, that we're, you know, someone is losing a seat at the table. And we always say it's not pie, right? And I think it's important in listening to you to remind one another that our heart has a capacity that is unlimited, right? And if we need to be there for more people and serve more people in our community, our heart figures out a way to grow in capacity. And so to have the authenticity, and I think the courage and to lead with such kindness, I'm deeply grateful for. And I'm so happy that we're hosting you on your first podcast, because I cannot wait for the people that watch and listen to this episode to get to know you more, because I think you're a really remarkable leader. And we are so very grateful that you and Michelle, and thanks to your daughter for saying, I'm not into surfing, folks, right? We're so fortunate that you call Arizona home.
We are too. You know, the state has really embraced us in the year and a half that we've been here, but it's really because of great people like yourself. And there's nothing further from my mind every day than not putting it on myself. That came kind of wrong, right? But I don't think about myself every day. I think about living up to the standards that people like yourself set, that so many other people in this community fought, bled, sweat, tears. It's easy for me, this newcomer, to come into town and say, hey, these are the things. And, you know, I'm a cisgender, relatively affluent white guy from Boston. I mean, right? To be able to come into this and see the Hispanic and Latino community here, so many people going back to SB 1070 and even before. I mean, these people gave their all. These people put themselves at risk. You put yourself at risk to stand up for what's right. I mean, what I do is nothing compared to what you all have done. Nothing. So to me, I look at it as a responsibility to come in and say, man, look at the shoes that these legends have set down for us. And I mean, if I can even do a quarter of what you all have done, I'll feel, you know, like I've succeeded a little bit.
Well, we always say that we're, number one, the show is called Better Together for a reason. And we always say that we're in this together, right? And that in that together, we can really make a difference. And I think when you talk about historically some of the places that we've been, it's proof positive that when we choose to work in a collaborative way, we can make it through these difficult times, and we can come out the other side of it better. Doesn't mean we're not going to get roughed up, because we're gonna fall down, but you know, we're resilient. And you know, when I had my health journey in 2023, I had this awesome healthcare advocate. Her name was Letty. She was so good. And I remember like being on the phone with her before I went into treatment, and it was like an hour-long phone call and like all the things that could happen. It was a little overwhelming.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh my goodness gracious. And she just talked about pain. And she's like, I need you to walk through the pain. And I think that's the place that we're in our state and our nation right now, is that we collaboratively can't leave anyone behind. And we have something to learn here, and we have to walk through the pain, and it's incumbent upon us to walk through the pain together. And we will make it to the other side because that's how that's what's supposed to happen, right? That we make it through in ways that maybe we can't imagine right now. Yeah. And I just again remember from my health journey that it was always like, one eye like right in front of you, take care of the things you need to take care of today, and one eye kind of dreaming and saying we're going to get through this and get down the road. So I have every intent of our remarkable community. And when I mean remarkable community, I mean Arizona community. Yeah. And when I say remarkable community, I mean the United States of America, our American community. We're going to get through the other side of these difficulties. And in saying that, I want to close with a final question, because you're kind of inspirational today. What's your dream for Arizona?
There's no doubt it's not an epiphany here. We have some real serious problems in our nation and in our country outside of this political stuff. We have economic problems. We have immigration law problems. We have educational problems. We have a national deficit that is beyond out of control. Geopolitical issues, and we have some real serious problems. We have some real serious problems in Arizona. Bottom 10 in places to raise a family, in the bottom quartiles, bottom percentages of education, overall childhood well-being. We're in the pack of states that are considered the worst of the worst on all of these childhood performance measures. The future of our state is in how we treat the next generation, our children, and the people that have less than, and I don't mean that in a negative way. I mean, people who have really struggled, people that are living in poverty. If we don't gather around those communities, if we don't gather around the people who need extra help, we can't be a successful state. So the flip side of that, the positive message, this is a beautiful state. This is a beautiful state for its people, for the legacy of the incredible indigenous people from Arizona, to the transplants like myself. We have so much to build on. If we can just get out of our way and stop letting the political class divide us over these issues that really are just meant to distract us from what government should do for us. A prosperous, equitable state that gives every single person a chance to be safe and succeed in whatever they want to do. To me, that's the purpose of government. We got to take this state back to that. We got to embrace the roots, embrace the legacy and the struggle that our indigenous peoples have faced here, to every single community of color, to every single community that has been oppressed or marginalized, the LGBTQ plus community, all of these communities. We got to harness that power together, and if we do, there's nothing stopping us. Yeah. This state is a beautiful, diverse state. Let's grab that as a positive, and there's nothing stopping the state.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. And when you bring all of our diverse communities together, like you look at Maricopa County and you look at Tucson, they've been minority majorities since like 2008, right? And so again, diversity is our superpower. Yep. And if we can just bring everyone together, we can harness our superpower, right? Then we have the opportunity to move our great state forward and create a sustainable future for everyone.
Absolutely, right. I should have specifically called out the immigrant community. The immigrant community brings so much to our state, not just dollars, but culture and spirit and family and a drive to do better, a drive for education. That community is every bit of Arizonan as you could possibly get. We need to embrace people instead of having the same paradigm that we're always being forced to blame someone else for our problems.
Yes.
we're losing so much incredible human capital. There are so many good ideas. There are so many entrepreneurs. There's so many people that if we went the other way with it and decided to say, let's bring everyone in and use your skills and have you be part of this big fabric, think about how much stronger and better we'd be.
Yeah. We really are better together.
We really are better together, 100%.
Thank you, my friend.
Thank you, my friend.